Welcome to Electric Evolution with Liz Allan. This podcast is about the journey to a more sustainable future in order for us to be able to do our bit to achieve net zero. I'll be discussing a variety of topics with experts in their field in order to educate and increase our knowledge of clean energy, electric vehicles and the electric vehicle infrastructure. So whether you're an individual wanting to make a difference at home, a small business or a corporate, this podcast is just for you. Okay, so on the podcast today, I've got Stuart Middleton, who is the Managing Director of a recruitment company called Interval, and he deals specifically with smart mobility and clean tech recruitment. So, Stuart, welcome to Electric Evolution. Thank you ever so much for joining me. So, can you just give everybody a little bit of background to your career and how you got into recruitment, please?
Yeah, sure. Well, first of all, thank you very much for having me, Liz, on your podcast. Much appreciated. Happy to share my insights. So my career into recruitment. Wow. Okay. I suppose, like a lot of people going into recruitment, I kind of fell into it really. I actually started my career off in the armed forces. Believe it or not, I left school and immediately joined the Royal Marines and spent 5 years working with those guys. Wow. Then decided to make the leap of faith into the private sector, and at the time I didn't really know what recruitment was altogether, in fairness, and I knew a friend who was doing it, or actually I didn't know at the time he was doing it, but we got talking one day. He invited me in. We got talking to the founders and the owners of the business at the time, and just felt it was a good match. And I almost kind of looked at it as nothing. I had nothing to lose at the time. I just come out of the armed forces, so I was willing to, anyone take me. Teach me anything you want. I'll give my best shot. I wasn't scared of hard work, and I was certainly determined. So yeah, that's kind of how I fell into recruitment itself.
Okay. So why specifically smart mobility and clean tech? What drew you to that, and kind of why? How do you see its importance?
Yeah, I'd say once again it was accidental. I think that I fell into the sector. So at the time I was working for a company that were a traditional IT tech business, and we kind of go back 8 years now. Now 8 years ago, a lot of the work that was kind of happening was all around driverless cars and autonomous vehicles. That's where the government put a lot of money from Innovate UK, and I started working with a client that was doing a lot of research and development into that sector, and I suppose that's where it all started. Because as things have progressed over the last 8 years, we've kind of gone from this autonomous vehicles, driverless cars, into sustainable transportation. From there, looking at different modes of transportation to kind of lower CO2 and carbon emissions. To end up into where we are now, which is a business which solely focuses on supporting companies that are developing new products and services for both the world of smart mobility and clean tech. And that is quite broad still in what we do, but electric vehicles is plays a big part of what we do. It's the spine of the business. It's where we built our reputation, certainly, and everything else kind of feeds off the side of that, really.
So what size companies are you working with, and what type of jobs are you recruiting for? Yeah, mostly.
So the size really does vary. We're very fortunate. We've got a real mix of clients, right from your pre-startup or pre-investment, should we say, to post-investment, to large corporates and consultancies. So it's very, very broad. From a kind of a skill set or a levels point of view, that also varies, because one thing we really try and do is we look to come in and partner with our clients. Okay, we're not looking to kind of work with every single company out there, but we want to work with businesses that share our values, and we know that we can work well together. I think that's really important in business. So we go down the approach of let's partner with you. Let's kind of take everything that you've got right now and look at how we can develop that, how we can help your employee value propositions. We're basically doing more than putting bums on seats, and I think that's typically in the past where some recruitment consultancies have kind of developed a bad reputation for themselves or the industry. And I think there are some very good people out there, and those are the sorts of people who try and add value to their clients more than just kind of throwing CVs around, and is actually looking to advise them, coach them, get them to think about how they're perceived in the market, the candidate experience, the whole journey, which is vitally important. Because when you're doing that, you're getting the most out of each other at the end of the day, and yeah, that's super important.
So okay, so go on. What do you see as the biggest value that you provide? Is it that experience? Is it that journey? And on average, what kind of a journey do you tend to give your, kind of on both sides, the organisations you're recruiting for and the candidates?
Yeah, I suppose.
What would a typical experience be?
Yeah, okay, that's a really good question. So I think first of all we need to. It's about communication. It all comes down to communication. Right from the start, it's about us really understanding who our clients are, what their culture's like, what's important for them. Ultimately, we want to be an extended arm of our clients, extended arm of the business, ultimately, so that we understand that when we're going out to market on behalf of a client, we are the first point of call between the candidate, kind of knowing this opportunity. So we have to ensure we represent the client in a way that they want to be represented, and having that communication to understand the stories. Who are they? What are they doing? What projects are they involved in at the moment? But to really kind of peel back the layers and get underneath the skin of who they are as a business, what they're looking to achieve, what are their values, so that we can really portray that to the client. Therefore, we can add more than just kind of saying, look, here's a job, are you interested? From our point of view, our job is to make sure that we are doing both sides. So it's one thing kind of obviously talking to a candidate about a job opportunity, but we also have to dig deep and understand the candidates. And what are they looking for? What's important to them? Why are they looking? Because it's more than just kind of I suppose just presenting an opportunity and finding out about their situation and then moving on. We want to really kind of get underneath the skin of what's their motivations, why are they looking to leave, what are they lacking, is it progression, is it location? There's lots of different reasons as to why people leave, other than just perhaps a pay rise, for example.
Yeah, okay. And what would you say are the sort of the top, say, 3 or 4 jobs that are being recruited for at the moment?
Yeah.
Are they technical? Are they sales? Are they operations? What would you say they are?
I would say the main skills that we're seeing at the moment, it does depend on what kind of vertical you're looking at. If we're talking about EV in particularly, mainly I would say sales and commercial. And the reason for that is because there's such a job to take place in regards to kind of the rolling out and making people aware of EV charging and how it all works.
Yeah.
So, we're seeing a lot of sales teams being built, a lot of commercial teams being built, and ultimately then you've got the delivery aspects, so the project management element as well, and the operational piece. Sorry, I've just got a fly starting to fly around my face, and when I'm trying to.
Don't worry, we can edit that bit. Flies at this time of year.
I know, you believe it. So yes, skill set predominantly on the sales, commercial, and the project delivery aspect at the moment, specifically with EV charging. On the whole sector as a whole, ESG and sustainability is obviously a big topic at the moment. It's the top of agenda of all or most managing directors and CEOs at the moment, in how can the business contribute to obviously the zero carbon emissions, reducing all those levels, which is vitally important on the whole. And EV makes up a part of that if they have fleets and things like that.
Exactly. So would you say then currently there are gaps that you kind of go, oh, they're recruiting for this and this, but maybe they're not doing that yet? So are you kind of seeing things and sort of like going, well, they're probably going to come back to us for these types of people eventually? Or are you going back to the companies and going, have you thought about employing somebody like this? Is that,
Yeah, I think a lot of the companies we work with do rely on us to present skill sets to them that they perhaps don't know exist in the market right now, and that comes from and the value, that's where we add value, because we have an understanding of the market and what's needed ultimately moving forward. I suppose that there are other challenges really within the sector, and the main challenges are the fact that demand is outstripping supply. Companies are running at 110 mile an hour at the moment. They're running really fast. They need people who can hit the ground running all the time. And I get it. I do, because they don't have the time to always upskill people or invest the time into people as much as they probably want to, because it's such a fast moving space at the moment. But what we try and advise clients is, look, try and look away from just the obvious places. There's lots of people who sit on the periphery of this sector who are dying to get into it, who are so passionate about what they do and could probably bring so many more different skills into the space that don't exist right now. So we're doing a lot of work with our clients to really understand that element, because I think it's vitally important. Because if you keep circulating around the same kind of pools, you're not going to get the kind of probably the level of disruption that you really ideally need. And there's some amazing people with amazing skill sets who can transfer those into the sector. And we try and really work hard to get decision makers to really understand that. And I think we're getting there, because you kind of you hit a cliff edge, which is there's no one else with the relevant experience, because they've perhaps moved around 2 or 3 jobs already within the sector, and they can't. It's just a kind of like a carousel almost, and we need to kind of look outside, because these companies are all heavily invested in some cases. They're rapidly growing, and we need to do more.
I suppose, and the other thing is, you don't know what you don't know, do you?
Yeah.
And it isn't until you have somebody like you in kind of back in a company, but giving support, that you will see trends going on and in different companies, and see, right, okay, these are the gaps that you need to create, because at the moment there's a lot of innovation going on, isn't there, in the electric vehicle infrastructure sector and EVs, full stop, isn't there?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And do you know what? It goes back to what I was saying earlier, which is all around being close to our clients. If we can get brought into them and understand their challenges, their frustrations, what they're struggling with, perhaps areas that they need growth, not now but in the future, we can actually start supporting them and working with them a lot closely. And we do that with most of our clients nowadays, because we've kind of proved ourselves that we can do that. And I think that's where the value comes in, the added value. You can't that doesn't come at a price. That just comes through experience and what we do, and how we try and separate us from the noise that exists out there amongst other people as well.
Value is so important, isn't it? Like you say, that's kind of your USP, the value that you give your clients, on both sides, isn't it? So,
hopefully.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, I can tell just from talking to you the kind of person that you are. So actually, we were talking about entrepreneurship, weren't we?
Yeah.
Earlier, and actually, you weren't classing yourself as an entrepreneur, but I would say the way that you're talking is very much entrepreneurial, very quite innovative as well. So that is what's needed, because, like you said, recruitment. I mean, I've had recruitment experiences in the past that haven't been particularly fun, and I've kind of said to people before, God, recruiters can be a right pain. But actually, if you add that value, that is where word of mouth makes a really positive impact for you, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It's something that we work really hard to maintain. We're very passionate about us, and obviously with it being my business, we want to make sure that that's kind of portrayed amongst the staff that we've got, because reputation takes a long time to build, and it can very quickly get destroyed, as we all know.
Yeah.
And I think that we haven't set our sights on being the biggest company that exists within the sector, but what we have set our sights on is being the best, by ensuring that we know what we're talking about, that we add in value in every step of the process, and that gives comfort in both our candidates and our clients, that we know what we're doing, and that for me is so important. It really is.
And I was going to point out as well, so Stuart and Interval also sponsor the EV Cafe that I'm a big fan of. So yeah, that's how I kind of saw you in the first place, because they're really big advocates of electric vehicle. The stuff that the guys together, they are brilliant, aren't they?
I mean, they're a great bunch. You got some amazing people in there, some great minds who do some really, really important things for the industry, and I think they've done a great job in sharing experiences and that teaching element. And I think that when you're working within this sector day in, day out, you kind of forget that there's a load of people within the population who still aren't they're not converted. They don't see it as important right now. They're probably uneducated, not so of why EVs are important, but how to use an EV. And that's kind of what got me really interested in the guys with the EV Cafe, because they were kind of talking at its basic level. And I think education is vitally important if we are to kind of create this transition in the quickest way possible. People need to realise that this isn't complex, and don't be afraid to not know something. It's okay. We need to talk about that a lot more, because the sector is, whilst it's exploding, whilst there's lots of good stuff happening, there's still a lot of people out there that don't know anything about it.
No, exactly. And some people, it won't even come on their radar for ages. I mean, we've got what, 7 years now, just over 7 years until petrol and diesel cars are no longer, they're not able to be produced.
Yeah.
And actually, look at this last few years with the pandemic and everything. The time just flies just like that, doesn't it? So 7 years is just going to fly by. And I agree with you. There's a real lack of education. And so in a number of areas, whereas the EV Cafe are kind of providing that. And actually, that's what I'm trying to do as well with this podcast. It's basically trying to take people through, the average Joe, as you call us. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of, there are things that we want to do. I want to do for my strategy in my business, as an individual and as a family, and actually, I was talking to somebody earlier about the little things that you can do. It isn't always within people's budgets to move straight over to an electric vehicle, for example, or to get air source heat pumps and solar, which is what we're currently looking at. But actually, there are small things that you can do. I was going to ask you what EV you're driving. Got to tell me. I
am very lucky. I have a Mercedes EQC, so I'm very fortunate.
Goodness me. And so you've got you said there's eight of you working together. Does anybody else get a company car, or is it just yourself?
So we there's 8 years. So 8 of us within the business right now. We currently have, I'm looking out across the office right now. we have around about half the business who have an EV. The rest of the half are still kind of going through their transition period. Obviously, wait times are significantly long at the moment, much longer than any of us would really like. But there's definitely a willingness and a want for everyone to go sustainable transport. But away from just EVs, the team that work with me, they're very, very sustainability conscious. So where the people who don't have an EV just yet, they fortunately live local, so they use bikes. They use the mobility as a service schemes that are on offer around Milton Keynes, which is great. Milton Keynes is not always the best place, but the transport that's provided here is very low carbon, and it's the share schemes are really good. So where we can, we try and avoid usage of vehicles just in general, because I think when we're talking about sustainability and transportation, we need to move it into more active transportation, because there's no better way of moving around zero carbon than the legs that we've been given to walk around and to use. So that's the kind of approach we typically try and take.
That's a brilliant approach, and it's good that everybody's kind of heading in that direction. It does, like I say, it's just it's the small things. I'm knocking my pen everywhere now. It's the small things that you just do, you do on a daily basis. I've got to say so, and I kind of talk about my husband a fair bit because he works in climate change, so that's how the other reason why I'm doing this podcast. But he cycles everywhere. He gets the bus. He's been down to Exeter yesterday, and he's gone down on the train. I find it a little bit more difficult because the work that I do, I have to go out, and it's not always that easy for me to get to. And I sit in my car and I just think, oh God, I really want to move over to an electric vehicle, because I've seen it's so important for me, because I don't want to be kicking out emissions. I want to do what I can, and because I can't always get to these places on public transport, I have to use the car, but it's about using the kind of making. I've got to push towards kind of getting an EV, whether that's buying or leasing, because my journeys aren't going to stop. That's the thing. But I will use buses and public transport as much as I possibly can. Yeah,
I think there's a massive kind of mindset that needs to change, and I think we'll see more of this as the generations go on as well, and or different age groups come through. We're already seeing that a lot of the people that we interview these days at the more kind of junior level don't have driving licenses, which means they're relying on public transport and remote working in order to kind of obviously to get around ultimately, which in turn reduces CO2 emissions, and this is the kind of change that we need to happen. But there's nothing. In my opinion, I'm still, under illusion is, meeting face to face is still vitally important in everything that we do. But as long as we try and keep that in a sustainable way as possible, whether that is using an electric vehicle or public transport, as long as the public transport is clean, and otherwise you're kind of defeating the object. But there's still a great amount of work going on, and some very, very amazing minds out there that are making a real difference.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny you should say about young people. I have a 17-year-old, and he's just messaged me this morning to say he's learning to drive. Now he's learning to drive in a manual, so obviously it's not electric. But he's already said that he wants to go. Once he's passed his test, he wants to go. Drive an electric car, because of that mindset of the younger generation. And actually, he's just said that he's done his first parallel parking today.
Good for him. Good on him.
So he's heading in the right direction. But yeah, you're right. Over the years, as the youngsters are coming through, actually, it's going to be really important. They're going to be pushing, because they, we are leaving. We are. They are inheriting what we're leaving, aren't they?
Ultimately, yeah, absolutely. And let's not forget, EVs are great fun to drive.
Do you know? I'm pushing to find a drive day so I can try some out, because at the moment I have no frame of reference, but I will be doing that definitely. So yeah, we'll have to have a chat about what you're driving. But so I'd just like to kind of finish just by you letting people know how they get hold of you. Where do they contact? Is there an email address and a website that they can contact you if they're either a candidate or a company wanting to recruit into this sector?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I just want to kind of throw it out there that I'm happy to typically talk to anybody, whether or not it's somebody looking for a new job, a client looking for skill sets, or somebody just wondering how they can get into this sector. I'm always happy to have an open conversation. So you can contact me on LinkedIn. I kind of live and breathe on there, being a recruiter. So you'll be able to find me with Stuart Middleton. I've got an email address which is stuart.middleton@intervalgroup.com. And I can also, happy for you to kind of share any details when you post this with my details for anybody to get in contact. I'm always happy to have a conversation. And if I can't, there'll be somebody in the team who will be more than happy to help you out, who's more than capable of helping you out as well.
Brilliant. So we will definitely share all your details following the as it actually gets kind of sent out. So yeah, but thank you, Stuart. It's been brilliant to talk to you. I really appreciate it. And yeah, so I'll end and just say thank you, and I shall see everybody next time. Thanks again.
Thank you
Bye.
very much.
You've been watching Electric Evolution with Liz Allan. Don't forget to subscribe and click on the bell icon, and you'll receive all of our weekly videos. Thanks for watching. See you soon.